Convicted criminal and MP Stephen Guilbeault comes out to tell Canadians what to expect from the federal government when it comes to their appeal on the plastics ban. Let's get into it.
Oh, yeah!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. Stephen Guilbeault is an interesting subject on this channel because, well, I've talked about him many times, and we've talked about his ridiculous policies when it comes to the environment, when it comes to the overturn on plastics that was made last week. Well, he's having a temper tantrum. He wants to outright ban plastics. He wants to do all these lunatic measures to try and better the environment when clearly plastics aren't the problem. Now, if you've seen the video where I was talking about what happened with the plastic ban, a lot of people shared the same sentiment that I did, that we can't wait to see the return of things like plastic straws, that wood cutlery is ridiculous. I mean, you have paper straws that you wrap in paper, and somehow plastic is bad for the environment. I don't understand um, what the point of all of this is. But Stephen Guilbeault coming out today and well, yesterday, I should say. Stephen Guilbeault coming out yesterday to talk about um, his intent to appeal the plastics ban. And not only appeal the plastics ban, but actually go over Canadians' heads. Because here's the problem with the federal government, that even when the Supreme Court says this is unlawful, that it's unconstitutional, this federal government once again says we don't care. The laws don't apply to us. And now, well, we're going to get into what they're doing and where they're headed. But ladies and gentlemen, before we get started, I just wanted to take a moment to talk about kind of our sponsor for the day, which is essentially myself. If you guys haven't heard yet, our new book, How the Prime Minister Broke Canada, hit #1 on Amazon yesterday. All the people picking it up can't be wrong. I have word that through my connections and contacts over on Parliament Hill, that Justin Trudeau is aware of this book and that it's making him very upset. So the more press this book gets, the more outreach this book gets, the better. So you don't have to go and buy it, but tell your friends, tell everybody you can. It's free to spread the word. If you know anybody who's going to want something like that for Christmas, definitely send them towards Amazon. And if they don't like Amazon, if they don't want to support Amazon, ladies and gentlemen, over at unacceptablefringebooks.com, you guys can go and pick up signed copies shipped directly from myself. Now, due to the Christmas season and demand, we're ordering back on, I guess, backlog of book orders. So books should be shipping by the end of the month, by next week. So if you want to get Christmas orders in, my advice, get them in sooner than later to beat the Christmas rush of shipping. But hey, all these people can't be wrong. I've been told people are enjoying it, that it's a good book, so make sure to go pick up your copy and celebrate with us and add to see how long we can keep this book in the #1 spot. But let's move on to Stephen Guilbeault, shall we? Let's maybe we got to do a book about him next. Who knows? Liberal climate fraud minister Stephen Guilbeault announces that Ottawa will appeal the federal court ruling. Sorry, I said Supreme Court earlier. Federal court ruling. Where the idiotic Liberal plastic ban was ruled unreasonable and unconstitutional. The Liberals hate following the Constitution. They want unlimited power. This tweet from Paul Mitchell couldn't be more correct. It's a power grab. They just want to tell you how to live your life. This guy, is it just me, or does he look a little bit like Hans Gruber from Die Hard? I don't know. Maybe I'm just in the Christmas mood. I don't know. I don't want to insult Alan Rickman. Rest in peace, by the way. But yikes. Let's hear what has to be said, and then we're going to get into further of what their plans are to move ahead.
Can I get your reaction to the federal court's ruling on plastics, and will the federal government be appealing it?
So we intend to appeal.
Okay, so it's just a very quick clip there, but here's here's what we're well, he talks about Pierre Poilievre. We're going to get into that. But here's where it's a little startling. And here's where I have issue with this. Stephen Guilbeault doesn't want to put up with the court's decision, the Supreme Court, the Canadian Supreme Court. Climate change activist Stephen Guilbeault created a law against single-use plastics that was shot down by the Canadian Supreme Court. Trudeau Environment Minister is now trying to bypass Canada and make a legally binding treaty at the UN. Allegedly, hang on one second here. Hang on. Let's. I hate that it autoplays those videos. Allegedly, to ban plastic pollution. Guilbeault says that it is unheard of what he is trying to do. Not when it comes to the Liberal government of Canada. They will use the UN and the WEF to get the control over the Canadian people. And again, yeah, I think that's a fair speculation. Let's listen to what he has to say about that.
I mean, we're trying to do something that is probably unheard of in the history of the United Nations, to come up with a new international treaty, legally binding treaty, to ban plastic pollution in 2 years. I mean, that's light speed for any government. You know, to adopt a new law in Canada or a new regulation takes about 18 to 24 months. And now we're trying to come up with a new international treaty in 24.
So Stephen Guilbeault wanting to bypass Canadian law, just like prime ministers who invoke emergency acts because truckers have bouncy castles outside. They're above the law, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Stephen Guilbeault had the audacity afterwards to call out Pierre Poilievre. And we're going to take a listen into that as well. Then, fear not, depending on where you are in Canada, well, some people are going to war over this, and well, we'll get into that in just a moment. But here it is. Liberal climate fraud minister Stephen Guilbeault believes that Canadians should be very concerned about Pierre Poilievre because he's going to make it easier for big polluters to pollute even more. Let's hear what he has to say here.
I think as Canadians get to know better Pierre Poilievre and understand better his positions on many of these things, whether it's protecting the environment, whether it's fighting climate change, I think more and more Canadians will grow very concerned about what they're seeing, and the idea that someone who aspired to become Prime Minister of Canada doesn't even believe in climate change, let alone put any measures in place to fight climate change, and would just tell communities and municipalities affected by climate impacts, well, tough luck, because we're not there for you. We're going to make pollution free again. We're going to make it easier for big polluters to pollute even more. I don't think Canadians would be very happy about that.
Well, what he thinks Canadians would want versus what Canadians actually want. I'll tell you what Canadians want. They want their lives back. They want the ability to be able to pay their bills. They want their ability to be able to save away for a rainy day. They would like that when they go to eat food, it doesn't taste like splintered wood or disgusting paper. This guy's lost his mind. I don't know what to say. I mean, his radical approach to the environment, thinking that getting rid of plastic straws and bags is somehow going to impact Canadians' ability to pollute and make the world a better place. Well, I don't, in the hypocrisy stance, Stephen Guilbeault recently made a trip over to China. I didn't see him talking to the Chinese government about getting rid of plastic straws. I didn't see him putting these radical ideas against China, saying get rid of your bags, get rid of everything plastic, have wood utensils for everything that you do. I don't know what to say short of it's a scam. We all know it's a scam. It's been a scam from day one. This is a scam set up to make your lives inconvenient, to line the pockets of people that they're connected to, that make these paper straws, that make these wooden utensils. It's to give kickbacks and take your tax money and live lavishly and pat each other's pockets. Now, of course, fret not, because if you joined us here last week on the channel, Danielle Smith, Premier Danielle Smith, sat down with us and had a nice little interview where she mentioned the overturn of the plastics ban in that interview. But now Danielle Smith is saying we'll see Minister Guilbeault in court as Alberta reacts to Ottawa's appeal of the federal court plastics ruling. The Alberta government is gearing up for another legal battle after Ottawa announced its plans to appeal last week's federal court ruling that found the federal government went too far in categorizing all plastic items as toxic. In a ruling released last week, Justice Angela Furlanettos wrote that it was unreasonable and unconstitutional to institute a blanket ban and list all plastic manufactured products as harmful. She also ruled that the government acted outside of their authority, adding there's no reasonable apprehension that all listed plastic manufactured items as harmful. In a statement posted online Monday, Federal Environment Minister Stephen Lunatic and his Justice Minister Arif Virani indicating their intent to appeal the ruling. Canadians are rightly calling for action because the rate of plastic pollution is unsustainable, threatening irreversible harm to the health of the natural world and humanity, it states. What Canadians are calling for this action? I would love for them to have to show proof of that or documentation and where they're getting that from, because I haven't met, I don't know about you guys, I haven't seen a single Canadian that has told me, I'm much happier with this paper straw when I order a milkshake, or I sure love going out to eat and having plastic utensils stripped from me while I eat food off of a wooden fork and a wooden knife. I don't understand who is asking for this. Maybe it's people out east. I don't know. But here in Calgary, I haven't seen one person out in the streets saying, oh, it's so good that we have paper straws. We are exploring all options to continue leading the fight against plastic pollution. We will continue working with provinces, territories, civil society, and industry to tackle this growing problem. No, you won't. You haven't worked with anybody so far. You're going over the federal court's decision and running to the UN to say, find us a way to jump over the rule of law so that we get our way because I want to have a temper tantrum. That's not working with provinces. That's enforcing your rule over provincial jurisdiction is what you're doing. In response to last week's ruling of Alberta Environment Minister Rebecca Schultz, who is actually in my riding, and I happily vote for her, issued a statement hailing the ruling and urging Ottawa to not appeal the ruling. Maybe we should try and get Rebecca Schultz onto the channel and talk to her. I think that'd be a good interview. I know she's got an open house coming up in Calgary. Maybe I'll drop in and see if I can talk her into coming onto the channel to talk about Stephen Guilbeault's worthless rule. If you guys want to see that, let me know down below in the comments and I'll see what I can set up. On Monday, Schultz's office issued a 7-word statement in response to the federal government would be seeking judicial review of the decision, saying, we will see Minister Guilbeault in court. The case was brought forward by Responsible Plastics Use Coalition, a non-for-profit corporation comprised of companies from the plastic industry who do business in Canada, as well as Dow Chemical Canada, Nova Chemicals Corporation, and Imperial Oil. They collectively argued the federal government's regulations were too broad and were not backed by evidence. Again, just like people's statements that they're demanding action, showing plastic in all materials is toxic. The federal government has put in place a ban on some single-use plastic items, including straws, grocery bags, and takeout containers. The regulations banning those items are already being phased in, with a ban on manufacturing and importing 6 different categories already in place, and a full ban on their sale and export planned by the end of 2025. So I've seen a lot of people that were saying, hey man, you can buy plastic straws and everything still over on Amazon. That'll come to an end by 2025 if the Liberals have their way. So stock up. While some cities, including Edmonton, have enacted policies mirroring the federal rules, the federal court ruling does not appear likely to usher in the return of plastic bags or straws in the immediate future. That's a little sad. Stuart Elgie, a law professor and director of the Environment Institute at the University of Ottawa, told the National Post that the federal government still has ample authority to regulate plastics that are harmful to the environment. They just have to do it in a targeted way and have proper scientific support behind it. So basically, they have to talk to the experts. Remember the last time they did that? That's a whole snowball we're not going to get into, but they're going to bend the law. They're just going to bend it to their whim. They're going to pull a Beckham. They're going to bend it like Beckham. He said the federal government could bring in an interim order under the Canadian Environment Protection Act until the regulation can be overhauled. So basically, they can make your life inconvenient until they get their way. In reality, the decision isn't a big deal, he said. It shouldn't affect the government's regulation of plastics. I think the industry did it kind of as a shot across the bow. I think what it is that it's not so much a shot across the bow. This is Canadians saying we've had enough of this woke, idiotic policy taking that's costing Canadians billions of dollars. Because let's face it, folks, to phase out plastics, even to bring in paper straws, to bring in wooden cutlery, it costs money to do those things and to give those contracts and to pad pockets again. It's not like they just snap their fingers and suddenly everything's gone and it cost us nothing. This is all by design and it's all wonky. And Canadians, including provincial governments here, are saying they've had enough. Now, whether or not they're going to follow those rules, I'm not so sure. Again, when it comes to Alberta, I wouldn't doubt if we start seeing a return to plastic straws or bags in the future. I don't know how soon in the future. I won't say it's going to be tomorrow, but by the looks of it, our government in Alberta especially has had enough of this woke nonsense, and they're just not going to put up with it anymore. At least by the looks of it, to challenge in another court proceeding. And again, I can kind of validate what this man was saying in this article that, it was to fire a shot across the bow. The Alberta government taking Stephen Guilbeault to court isn't because they think that they're going to win a case, come out, and everything's going to be sunshine and rainbows. It's to show that this is unconstitutional. And no matter how many times we go to court, we're just going to basically label you and show you for what you are. Now, does it result in everybody being happy and everything going back to normal? Not yet. But as we see with Stephen Guilbeault calling out Pierre Poilievre, signs that things are going to change eventually are hopefully coming our way. I know it's silly to sit here and say we want plastic and we want it now, but guys, this is getting a little ridiculous. It's what's next. They're going to start saying we're going to manufacture paper underwear because cotton's too harmful to manufacture. Who knows? Who knows what they're going to come up with next? I don't know. Maybe we're all going to wear the same uniforms like Star Trek. I won't put anything past this crazy government any further. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. If you think Alberta should be going to court, if you think Stephen Guilbeault's off his rocker, let me know what you guys think. If this is your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Don't forget, while you're hitting that button, to turn on your bell for notifications. Join us live here on the channel every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, where we do the weekly wrap, go over everything that's happened this week, everything coming up in the week ahead, and some Q&A and back and forth with our audience, with our community. It's always good to see new folks in there chiming in, telling us they're there for the first time, and I look forward to meeting with each and every one of you and having a discussion this Sunday. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and have yourselves a wonderful day. I'll catch you on the next one.